Hey guys, today we're going to be taking apart and swapping the hard drive on a 2008, maybe 2009 iMac. I haven't even turned this one on yet. I'm not going to until after we replace the hard drive. But let's keep it quick and just get started. Use a suction cup to get the glass off. Just pop that. Be careful. Pull as much of the glass at one time as you can. If you pull one corner, it can crack it. Then you have screws around the edge of the screen. You pop off all those screws. You have to be very careful not to touch this LCD at all. If you touch the LCD, even in the slightest bit, it can scratch and it's permanent. So that's why they put glass over it, because there is no protective layer on this at all. And you have to be very careful if you clean it. You want to make sure you use microfiber for sure. So this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw on the bottom row are longer than all the others. So all your long ones go back into the bottom. Now I turn it upside down because that's the easiest way to work on it. It's even angled towards you. Highly recommended that you just turn it upside down, just like this, to work on it. Now before we can pop this outer panel off, there's a screw right here that you have to take off and pull the ram cover off. And just a regular screwdriver grabs that best, the Phillips head. Now, sometimes it kind of gets stuck in there, like the screw is all the way unscrewed, yet this panel is still in there. So, if you can't get a nail in there, a really, really tiny flathead screwdriver can be stuck into a hole. And you can pry that up, just like so. So now we can pull this whole panel off. I just push on the corners right here. Push up just like that. Careful not to pull too hard because you do have a connector here to disconnect first. It usually has tape around it, so you have to take that tape off. Sometimes take a pair of needle nose nope, not this time. So very carefully, you can take a razor and cut the tape.
You got the back?
Now that the connector's out, we can pull that off. Alright, so to get the LCD screen out, which the hard drive is behind, we have screws along the sides. We have a connector here, and there's two sets of power connectors here. And so before we disconnect those, we'll just take these screws out. Disconnect this guy. You will need a T6 Torx screwdriver to take apart those two screws that hold this connector in. This connector pops off right there, and then I usually lift it from the right side and just lift it like this, and then you have your two sets of power connectors. And there's your screen. So here's the hard drive. On this mechanism, you just pull up on this right side, just pull straight up. It feels like it's going to break, but it's fine. And then it lifts up like that, and you pull it straight out. When pulling the hard drive out, you'd probably want to pull the temperature sensor off first. I usually just tear the foam out. There's a little lever in there. You can lift up that lever and slide the temperature sensor out. Just like that. And then you can pull the hard drive. There's these little pins slide into two rubber gaskets in there. There you go. Hard drive is out. We'll pull off our caddy pins. Alright, hard drive's all out. 160 gig. We're going to put a 500 in. There we are. And so you just get the orientation set, pop your screws back in. Sometimes the rubber comes off and you just put the screw back in the rubber there. Alright. So, lift up your wires, get this kind of in the right area, plug your SATA and power connectors back in. That goes in just like that. Put this plastic piece back in by inserting that pin and snapping it down. Now to put our temperature sensor back on, we're just going to use Scotch tape. Just tape that into a flat spot on the hard drive. So, hard drive is installed. Let's put our screen back in. There's little dots on these connectors on each side. Just line up the dots so that the dots are on the same side, and then plug those in. Make sure those are nice and tucked as it comes down. Just like this. Reset our connectors here. It's good to tuck this one by the fan. If this connector covers this hole, you can screw through the cable and that'll totally damage it, rendering this computer completely useless. So, gotta be careful with that. Now if you're going to replace the screen, keep in mind that there are different sets of pins for these screens. Some are 3-pin, some are 4-pin. So you make sure you get the right connector for this pin. There we go. So, we're ready to screw the thing back in. But first, let's test to make sure all our connections are good. Just kind of hold the screen in, get yourself power. After you plug in the power, wait about 5 seconds, and then hit your power button. And we're good. So we just screw the screen back in. I always set my screws in diagonally. So start on one corner, then do the opposing corner, so on and so forth. Because this corner and this corner aligns every other screw. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're all plugged in. Let's put our T6 screws back in to hold this connector in. This connector can come dislodged through just use and moving it around. It is good to screw this connector in. Alright, so now that's all set, we can put our panel back on. Alright, so I made actually a very common mistake that can happen, where the connector coming out from under the LCD actually gets pinned underneath it. So I actually have to screw the corner back out. Stick a screwdriver in there and just pull your connector out. Every once in a while that happens. So on this, I don't put tape on it when I put it back. I just plug it in and stuff it in. Yeah. It's in there. Sometimes that cord just kind of pops out. Just take a screwdriver, just push it in. There we go. Just make sure that this screw hole doesn't get covered. You should be able to stick your screwdriver in that hole. If that gets covered, you'll end up screwing through your webcam cable, and then you don't have a webcam anymore. Alright. Also make sure you charge your batteries on these. like an hour to screw these things back in by hand. Anyway, make sure you go for your corners, just like always. It's a good idea to test your hard drive and crystal disk first before you do this. That way you know for sure that that hard drive will not have to be pulled back out. Because if that hard drive ends up being bad, then that's a lot more work to get that back out. And every time you risk scratching your LCD. We'll just assume I put the rest of the screws back in. And your glass panel just magnetically locks back in just like that. And there we go. Hard drive all replaced.